Chapter 4.1, we'll just read the translations from point 4.1 to 4.10. We'll get a quick recap. Chapter 3, end of chapter 3, Krishna pointed out on lust. Do you remember the acronym for chapter 3? What was it? 3. Chapter 3? 3. Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying 3. 3, T-R-E-E. T stands for Tyag, R stands for rungs of the ladder, first E stands for Krishna, could I forget? Second E is enemy of the soul. First E is for... This is bad, yeah? I'm talking about myself. Chapter 1 is doubt, D-O-U-B-T. Chapter 2 is Gita. That is what I always remember. Chapter 3 is tree. Exemplary. Exemplary. Thank you. Saved our lives. And second E is...
T for Tyag.
T for Tyag, R is for rungs of the ladder, yoga ladder. E stands for exemplary, and the last E is enemy of the soul, lust. So Krishna says, Arjun's question in end of the first exemplary thing was, when we start that section, Arjun asked a question that everyone has this knowledge, but somehow there's some force which impels one to behave sinfully. So Krishna immediately says that it's that lust only, Arjuna, which is acting with a mode of passion and anger, and then makes a person act sinfully. And by the end of this section, Krishna starts glorifying transcendental knowledge, which alone is the reason which can cover lust, or can help us overcome lust. Right? So then he, in chapter 4, that's the link to chapter 4, where he glorifies transcendental knowledge further. So 4.1, I'm just reading only the translation. After the shlokas, only the translation. The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, is everyone together? Yeah. I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan. And Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu in turn instructed it to ISKCON. So Krishna first of all points out the importance of Bhagavad Gita, or this mysterious science, by saying that how it is so important. I gave it to sun god. Now sun god is not ordinary, because for Arjun, sun god is his ancestor, his first ancestor. Means, Kshatriya, and the line of Kshatriya, sun god is the first Kshatriya. So he said that even he received it and he passed it down to his son, and this is how it was being passed on. So this is the importance of the Gita. It is such an ancient science. This is the first thing between 4.1 to 4.10, which is eternal knowledge. 4.2, then Krishna describes and he tells Arjun that this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. Which way? In a disciplic succession. But in course of time the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Slowly what happens? Every knowledge has its time, it's got its time limit. Slowly and steadily what happened? It got lost, and then Krishna came back to revive it. That's what he says in 4.3. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So what is a qualification to understand this science? One has to be a devotee and a friend. Bhakto sine sakha cheti, Krishna says in 4.3. He says that's the qualification to understand the Gita. You have to be Krishna's friend, you have to take Krishna as your friend, and you have to be his devotee. Next, 4.4, Arjuna asks a question. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed the science to him? Yeah. Now this sounds like a very silly question, as if Arjuna doesn't know who Krishna is. Now Krishna is saying in 4.1 that I told the science to sun god. Now sun god has appeared millions of years back. He's millions of years old. So how is it possible You just appeared with me, you're my contemporary, you're my cousin. Our birthdays are around the same time. So how is it that you can tell Sun God who has appeared so many years back? So Arjun is basically asking this question for our benefit, so that Krishna can reveal who he really is. Then from 4.5, Krishna says, Bahuni me vyatitani. He says, the personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Now there are people who believe that they are God. Every jiva, every tiny atma can also become Paramatma. But here Krishna clearly demarcates. He says that so many births, what is the difference between us and him? We have also taken so many births. He has also taken so many births. He can remember each one of them, each and every avatar that he has taken. But we cannot. We forget. Because we are very tiny. We are 1/10,000th tip of our hair. That's the size of the soul. And Krishna is unlimited. So he can remember everything that he has done. So here Krishna he says that, then he starts explaining transcendental knowledge. What exactly is transcendental knowledge? Knowledge about Krishna, about his birth, about his activities, about his form, and how we get out of this chakkar of material birth and death, action and reaction, is when we get to know about this lust. Lust, basically, what does it do? Lust takes us to ignorance. Ignorance makes us get attached to material things, which makes us bound in this repeated birth and death. If we need to get out of this whole cycle which lust is getting us into, then we have to hear transcendental knowledge. What transcendental knowledge? That is 4.6 to 4.9. I'll read that in a stretch. 4.6, Krishna says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So here, number 1, Krishna is saying that my body is not subject to birth and death. I come in an original form. How are we saying original? The sun rises and sets every day. It's not that the sun takes birth and commits suicide in the ocean every day. No. It's the same sun. It's just because our eyes are limited in vision. So we can see it rising and setting every day. But it's the same sun which is coming and going. So the Lord, he appears from the spiritual world down to this material world. He plays his pastimes and then he goes back. So that's his original form. It's not subject to birth and death. He says, I am Aja, I am unborn. And my transcendental body never deteriorates. I am the Lord of all living entities. And I appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Then he says the famous shloka 4.7, Yada Yada. He says, whenever and when do I appear? Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, that's when I come. O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion. At that time, I descend myself. Like this time he's come, because that same knowledge that he gave to Sun God is lost. So he came to give it back to Arjun. When there are too many demons and people cannot follow the religion that Krishna has given, that time he comes again. In 30 key verses, when we do that avatars, there's so many avatars actually. We know only Dasha avatar. Generally outside in maybe in schools or maybe when we hear stories of only Dasha avatar. But other than Dasha avatar also there are so many avatars. There are so many Shaktiavesh avatars. Shaktiavesh avatars, remember what is Shaktiavesh? Krishna, empowered personalities that Krishna sends. Like Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad, so many of them Krishna will send time and again. Because when religion is lost, to re-establish it. So then here he is saying when I am coming, and 4.8 he says why I come. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I appear myself millennium after millennium. So here, remember we learned this word Srijami. Srijami is not birth. It is appearing, just like the sun. It's not taking birth. It's rising. 4.9. Here he says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjun. That means he gets a key to get out of this material world. Right? So last, he gives the benefit of hearing this transcendental knowledge. He says that one becomes free from Vita, Rag, Bhaya, Krodha. Vita is being freed from Rag, Bhaya, Krodha. Rag is Krodha is anger. Rag is attachment. Bhaya is fear. Krodha is anger. Being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Yeah, so here 4.1 to 4.10 Krishna gives the entire transcendental knowledge, the benefit of transcendental knowledge, and he says, how will you know that you're benefiting from transcendental knowledge? You will experience that you're becoming free from attachment, from anger. You will actually experience that. Vita, Rag, Bhaya, Krodha. You will experience this. You will get more spiritually attached, and you will get aloof from or detached from material desires, material attachments. Right? So now the question comes after 4.10 finishes. Arjun has a question in his mind. He thinks that, okay, this transcendental knowledge is there where we're supposed to serve you, and that's how we get out. What if someone doesn't want to serve Krishna? What if he doesn't, he wants transcendental knowledge. He just wants freedom from birth and death. Sometimes people think about moksha. What is moksha? Moksha is freedom from material entanglements, freedom from material miseries. Sometimes people want only peace.
But moksha doesn't take you back to God, right?
No. Liberation. That is on the Brahman platform. It takes you to the Brahma Jyoti. That's it. Nothing beyond that. Yeah, so freedom from material pains and agony is also a huge thing. Here everyone is tormented, or most of the time people run to God when they are tormented. Yeah? So what if someone is coming to Krishna only for some relief? Or what if someone is coming to Krishna for some material desire? So what does Krishna say in 4.11? So from 4.11 to 15 we'll do all the shlokas, then we come back. Yeah? So then how do we accurately understand this transcendental knowledge? Understanding includes the correct understanding and application, both. And then what happens with the application? Everything is between 4.11 to 15. So we do a marathon between 11 to 15, then we come back for the translations. Please repeat. Ye yatha mam prapadyante, tam stataiva bhajamyaham, mama vartmanuvartante, manushyaha partha sarvashah. Shalini, can you?
As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pratha.
कांक्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा.
Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men can get result from fruitive work in this world.
4.13. चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टम् गुणकर्म विभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि माम् विद्याकर्तारमव्ययम्. Translation.
According to the three modes of material nature.
Right. 4.14. Namam karmani limpanti. Name karma phale spriha.
न मे कर्म फले स्पृहा
इति मां योऽभिजानाति
इति मां योऽभिजानाति
कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते
कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते.
Falguni?
There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire to the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the intuitive reactions of it.
Last 4.15. एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म
एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म
पूर्वेरपि मुमुक्षुभिः
पूर्वेरपि मुमुक्षुभिः
कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं
कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं
पूर्वेः पूर्वतरं कृतम्.
पूर्वेः पूर्वतरं कृतम्.
अच्छा.
All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of their transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps.
Right. 4.11 again. ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते
तां तथैव भजाम्यहम्.
तां तथैव भजाम्यहम्.
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
So what if someone is not interested in knowing or serving Krishna? That's the link from 4.10 to 4.11. 4.10 Krishna says you have to know about me. When you know about my birth and activities, you serve me. That's how you get out of this material world. So what if one doesn't want to do that? In whatever persons, Krishna says, in whatever manner persons approach me, I reciprocate. However, if he is a jnani, he wants only transcendental knowledge, he just wants to know, he just wants to get free of his ignorance, okay, then Krishna will give that. If someone wants material desires, what will happen? Yeah, Krishna arranges repeated birth and death for this person. Yeah, I know. Repeated birth and death, because that's how it's possible. In one birth to get everything, is it possible? No. In this birth you'll get this. Maybe these desires are pending. Again you have to take birth, and then this material desire will be fulfilled. Krishna arranges that too. It takes some time for material nature to facilitate that. You get a appropriate body for that. If someone wants to become a president, then that facility has to be arranged. They have to be born in a certain family, they have to be born with certain intelligence. All that has to be arranged. It takes time. So then repeated birth and death. Someone wants only moksha, someone wants only freedom from material miseries. Okay, they get the Brahman. They get Brahman and they get a platform which is something like Krishna's effulgence, Brahma Jyoti. Someone gets to how the plane, it disappears into the cloud. You don't see it anymore. So this person, he gets out of the material world, but he's still resting in the Brahma Jyoti. Freedom from material miseries. That itself is it's a relief. It's moksha, right? So this is how when we approach Krishna, Krishna reciprocates. Yeah, but the point is that Krishna says, no problem, just come to me. Yeah, whatever. And here in 4.11, in the last paragraph, you will see there's a shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam. 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, verse number 10. Can you see? Akamo sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajete purusham param. Whether one is without the desire, the condition of the devotee, just without any desire. He is just coming because he loves Krishna, without any desire. Yeah. If one person is like that, or one is desire of fruitive results, means he wants something from Krishna, or is after liberation. Third, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Means whether you don't have any desire, or if you have any desire, if you're desiring simply moksha, you approach Krishna for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. What does Krishna do? What is that magical wand that Krishna does?
Automatically.
What happens? Why is Krishna saying that? Whatever you want, just come to me.
Then my
Yeah, this 4.12, before 4.12, there's one small thing. Krishna says, actually this has to go here. If Krishna is fulfilling all desires, the answer of this question, why does Krishna say you come to me? 4.12, the link between 4.11 to 4.12 is Krishna is fulfilling all desires. Why is everyone not approaching him? If Krishna is fulfilling all desires, then why doesn't everyone surrender to him? Why is someone going to a demigod? Or why no one wants to come to Krishna? Because what Krishna does is first he purifies the heart. This takes some time for the purification for heart. So the material benefit gets a bit delayed. People don't have patience. Right? Here Krishna says in 4.12, we'll read it, then we'll go back to this explanation. Kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataah Shipram hi manushe loke Siddhir bhavati karmaja. Right? So here Krishna is saying men in this world desire success and fruitive activities. Now that means they want something constantly, some maybe money or fame or power or anything. We want something in return, maybe health, wealth, relationship, anything. And therefore they worship the demigods. Because what happens when you worship demigods? Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. When you go to the demigods, you get it quickly. So if you go to Krishna, what does he do? He sits to purify our heart. So it takes time. People don't have patience, so they go to the demigods. What do the demigods do? Shipram. They give it immediately. Right? Imagine if your child has worms in the stomach. Imagine. And they come to you asking for chocolate. Will you give? Goes to the neighbor. Pesters the neighbor. Auntie, do na. Fine, it's just a chocolate. Gives. But then what happens? Yeah, this condition of the child gets worse. Why are you not giving? You're an enemy of the child. You will give. You want to give. You want to give sweets. You want to give good things to the child. You want to give the child what he likes. But what will you do?
Wait till he becomes.
Yeah, you'll give the medicine first. Once the child is alright, even you give him sweets. Right? This is what Krishna's position. Because Krishna as a parent, what does he do? He knows that this material thing will spoil my child further. Will implicate him in material reactions further. Will take this person more away from me. So he doesn't give. First he will purify. Then he definitely gives it. In fact, in the 4th canto, there's a story of Dhruv Maharaj. The small boy is only 4 years old. What happens? He has a stepmother. Yeah, his father, King Uttanapad, he's got two wives, Suniti and Suruchi. Suniti's wife is Suniti's child is Dhruva. Suruchi's wife is Uttam. Or Suruchi's son is Uttam. So Uttam was sitting on the lap of King Uttanapad, father. So Dhruv comes and says, my brother is sitting on the lap. I also want to sit. Sometimes children, when they see someone getting attention, they also want attention. Yeah. And when you're giving someone else attention, they get restless. So when Uttam was sitting on the father's lap, he also wanted to sit. But Uttanapad doesn't take him on his lap because he's sitting at a height, So sometimes children are too tiny. You need to pick them up. He doesn't pick him up. Why? Because Suruchi was watching. She was making eyes at her husband. It's not my case. Don't take him. Uttanapad doesn't take. Dhruv becomes very disturbed that my own father, just because the stepmother is, like this, he's not taking me. He gets very upset. So then this Suruchi, she's so nasty. She talks to Dhruv, this tiny boy, so deridingly. She says that you have to be born from my womb to be able to sit on your father's lap. This was too much for Dhruv to hear. He says, you're not qualified to sit on your father's lap. Only Uttam can sit. You cannot sit. So he becomes very upset. He says, why? He goes to his mother, Suniti, and he starts crying. And he's, it's mentioned, and that his teeth, because of anger, it's like he's biting his teeth, and he's telling his mother, why? Why is this like this? So she says, I can't do anything about it because your father actually gives Suruchi more, importance and love and affection than I am also neglected. So because of that, even you are neglected. Uttam gets more affection. I can't do anything about it. So Dhruv says, who can do about it? Who can do something about it? So she says, only the Lord can do something about it. He says, really? He says, if Uttam is qualified to sit on the father's lap, and if he is qualified to get everything from my father, then I want something more than my father. In fact, I want something even more than my grandfather. Even more than my great-grandfather. Now, who is he talking about? He is talking about Brahma. The four-headed Brahma who, technically he has rulership of this entire universe. And he says, I want something bigger than that. Now, some people talk like that. It's just a child, and they're talking like that. But he was determined. Dhruv says, I want it. And his mother says, I can't give it to you. Who can give it to me? I think Vishnu only can give it to you. He says, okay, where is Vishnu? He said, the sages go to the forest to search him. Okay, I'm going to the forest. Mother is like, what? You can't go to the forest. He says, no, I want to go to the forest. Immediately he leaves the house. He's so angry. And he's searching for Vishnu. For what?
So that he can sit on the lap.
It's a material thing. He wants a kingdom bigger than his great-grandfather. Forget about father. Great-grandfather. Even bigger. So he goes out and then he's walking towards the forest. He doesn't know what to do. And it's quite a famous thing because Uttanapad was the emperor of the earth planet and his son walking out of the house is a big thing. So when Narad Muni gets to know about it, he goes and approaches this Dhruv Maharaj. And he says that, see, you're a very tiny boy. Children get upset. Children are supposed to play. They're not supposed to get so angry and walk out of the house. And there are wild animals in the forest. There's so many thieves and robbers. And your parents are very distraught. Your father is very upset. He's crying. He wants you back. Dhruv says, nothing doing. You can help me. You talk to me. Otherwise, please leave me alone. This is what he tells Narad Muni. So then Narad Muni sees his determination and he says, okay, he's looking for Vishnu. Vishnu will do the needful. So he gives him the mantra to find Vishnu. He gives him a mantra, he initiates Dhruv. And Dhruv goes into the forest and he practices severe austerities. For how long? 6 months. That's not much actually if you see. There are devotees for 10 years, 15 years, 25 years. Yeah, this boy is 4 years old. For 6 months he practiced severe austerities. Actually that is there, every month he is getting even and even tougher. For the beginning of 6 months, I think he starts only eating, roots and just drinking water, and then the next, just eating only the dry leaves which are falling from, absolutely no material desires, just, eating the dry leaves which are fallen out of the trees. Then he started drinking only water, and then slowly he used to drink water only once a week. By the 6th month, he was only breathing. This boy, so determined, he was so angry, so determined that I want to meet Vishnu, I want this for sure. And then what happens? At the end of the 6 months, this boy, he's standing on, on the big toe, on the nail of the big toe, his hands, like this, and a yogic position. He's standing on one feet, that too on the toe. It's like, you have this particular, I don't know, it's called Garudasana. You have one feet bent, it's resting on the other knee, and even that is, only resting on a toe. And this way, all the time. Then this boy stops breathing. He stops breathing. Such yogic power he gets that he's not eating, he's not drinking, he's emaciated, thin boy, only wearing a loincloth in this forest, cold and heat he's standing, and he's stopped breathing also now. When he stops breathing with his power, the entire Vayu system, the wind system halts. If there's no movement in the wind, we'll not be able to breathe. You need constant. This wind is a very important thing because if it stops, if Vayu stops, none of us will be able to breathe. Even the demigods started choking because they couldn't breathe. The animals around Dhruva started falling and gasping for breath. So Vayu, they became very troubled. He ran to Brahma. He said, what is your grandchild doing? He stopped the Vayu of the entire universe. So much power. 4-year-old boy. You have a 4-year-old child? Or your children were 4-year-old. What could they do at that time? So dependent, na? And now this boy has become so powerful. Literally, Brahma had to run to Vishnu, and Vishnu said, he's waiting for me to come. So Vishnu immediately gets on Garuda and comes to give personal darshan to Dhruva. And Dhruva, when he opens his eyes, could see the Lord standing with Garuda. In 6 months, this was his determination. Yeah. And then what? When he looks at the Lord, and the Lord says, your desire is fulfilled. You were looking for me, I am standing in front of you. Now ask whatever you want. The Lord knew what he wants, but he wanted to hear it from Dhruva. When Dhruv got darshan of the Lord, he looked at him right from feet to the head, and standing with a four-armed form, and it was so beautiful. Dhruv didn't want to ask anything. He says, no, I don't want anything. Vishnu starts laughing. He says, what are you saying? He smiles. He says, you did 6 months, so much tapasya. He tells him, he says, because you wanted a kingdom bigger than your great-grandfather. Now you don't want anything? And Dhruv actually says these lines. He says, I was looking for pieces of glass, and I've got a rare diamond. What could I want anything more? What does he say? I was looking for pieces of glass. I've got a rare diamond now. What more could I ask for? What does Vishnu do? ठीक है चलो हरि बोल. No, he says, no, you will get what you want. So what did Vishnu do? He purified Dhruva's heart, and then when he wanted to give him something, that something will not degrade Dhruva anymore. He'll make the best use of it. Krishna did give Dhruva something called, we have this pole star. What is pole star? In pole star, in Sanskrit, pole star is called as a Dhruv Tara. This Dhruv Tara is a particular realm, which is not, actually it's not technically a part of the material. It's a separate planet altogether, which is bigger than this universe in dimension. And Dhruv is the king of that planet. So he got what he wanted, right? So, but then his heart was purified. He will not degrade himself further with that material benediction. Because it's coming from Krishna, it's a spiritual benediction. So when we ask Krishna something and it's taking time, switch the channel. Let's ask someone else. Sometimes when the mother doesn't give, the child goes to the father. The father doesn't give, they go to the grandparents. Sometimes they are more merciful. But then what Krishna does? He purifies and he gives. So when you get, you're not degraded anymore. You're purified. So Krishna here, Arjuna has this thing in his mind in 4.11. He thinks if Krishna is giving everything, then why doesn't everyone go to Krishna? Because Krishna delays. He first purifies, then he gives. So here he is saying men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, one gets results from fruitive work in this world. From this demigods you will get it immediately, but it comes with a twin deal. You have to pay back also. Krishna purifies and he gives you intelligence of how to use that thing also. You'll have to get, when you get a certain thing, you have to give it back at death. Anything that you get from the demigods, you have to give it back to the death. But by the time you're so attached to it, that will become the cause of your repeated birth and death. Because you don't want to give away something that you've got. But Krishna, what does he do? Even that material desire is purified. So even what you get from him, I remember there was one devotee who was living in a joint family. And she was so... Sometimes in South Bombay, when you're living in a joint family, you only have a bedroom, You're confined to... And when your kids start growing up, what do? You want space for them too. Right? So then she was desiring for a bigger house. But the rates are so high, you can't buy anything here, So she's waiting, thinking, this material desire I have, I want a bigger house. Why is Krishna not giving it to me? And then, slowly, after she was visiting the temple for quite some time, she was thinking, maybe, here I have the freedom to walk out any time. I don't have to worry about the servants have come or not, my mother-in-law is there, or someone is always constantly there at home. If you have a house of your own, you're so caught up. There's one maid who doesn't come, you have to skip and change all your programs. maybe that flexibility is there now. So now what happens, if you get your own house suddenly, you might just get lost. Yeah, so Krishna, I don't know if Krishna will give her or not, but the point that I'm trying to make is that Krishna purifies, and whether he gives or not gives, that we have to accept it as his benediction. So 4.13, what is the connection between this and this? Okay, now Krishna is saying here that I give material things. Now the question, the next link here to 4.13 is Krishna responsible for our actions and reactions? We are asking him, he is giving us. Yeah. In 4.13 he's actually he starts mentioning the 4 divisions of human society. Can we read the shloka first? Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam Guna karma vibhagashah Tasya kartaramaphi mam Vidya kartaram avyayam. Whose turn is it to read?
According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the 4 divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable.
Right, so from 4.11 we understood that Krishna is reciprocating now. 4.12, whoever it is, Krishna will reciprocate. So here the question comes that is it Krishna who is responsible to who we become? Whether we become a jnani, or we become, a devotee, or whether we become a materialist. Is it Krishna who is deciding this? Now Krishna said that I have made the Chatur Varnyam. What is Chatur Varnyam? Varnashram. There is Brahmacharis, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. Or there is the Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra and Brahmanas. Is it Krishna who is picking and putting people? Suppose it's a line, sometimes you go here, you go there, just random decisions. Who becomes what? Who decides? Karmas, qualifications, desires. Is it us who desires? It's Krishna who decides. Who is it? We? Okay, now just keep this page and you just turn to 3.27. Third chapter, verse number 27. Big book, it's page 173. Now here Krishna is saying, I am the non-doer. It's very clear. He is saying, I am the creator of this system, but you should know that I am the non-doer. I am not doing this picking and doing. So if you think that it's me who decides where I am supposed to go, this verse says, Prakriteha kriyamanani gunay karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma kartaram iti manyate. He says, the spirit soul, bewildered by influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities. If you think you're the doer of activities, then you're wrong. You're under false ego. Krishna is saying, I am not the doer. Here he is saying, if you think you're the doer, then you're wrong. Then who's doing it? Krishna is not doing it. If I am not doing it, then who's doing it? Is it the only modes? Modes of material nature? They're placing everyone here and there and wherever they want. Modes of material nature is basically Krishna only. Material nature is working under Krishna's direction. So indirectly, is it Krishna?
Yeah. Yes.
But he's saying, I am not doing it. Confusing? Not doing directly? He's not saying that. He's saying it's unchangeable. He's saying, I am not doing it. And who does it? Krishna is responsible for actions and reactions? No. Is this part clear at least? From 3.27, Krishna says, if you think you're the doer, you're bewildered by false ego. You're also not the doer. There are 3 doers actually. There are 3 doers. From here, from when we come to 4.16 onwards, we'll understand the reactions part. But here Krishna is setting a thing to go ahead for more knowledge. 4.13, Krishna says there are 3 types of doers. One is the jiva, that is us, the living entities. and Krishna, who's also one of the doers, and material nature is the third doer. It's like if you go to a restaurant, you make your own food, but you have to pay. I didn't cook my own food, but I have to pay. Why? We ate it. Who made it? The cook. But who has to be paid? The cook? No. You have to pay the owner, the cashier. So there are three doers here. Right? There is us. What do we do here? How do we start? Why are we responsible basically? Yeah, because it's our desire which starts everything. We are doers, or we are responsible for our actions and reactions, or whether we become a Brahman, Kshatriya, Shudra, Vaishya, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi by our desire. So that way we are the first doer. Why Krishna is second doer? Because without his sanction, nothing can happen. Is that right? Without Krishna sanctioning our desire, we cannot get anything in this world. So that way Krishna in 3.27 thinks that if you think you are getting all the credit of all the good things happening in your life, then that is not right, because without my sanction you cannot get it. So first doer is my desire, the jiva is the desire. The second is Krishna because he sanctions it. Material nature gives me facility. For example, my desire is to go to opera house. There are roads which are constructed by the government already. I get a taxi. The roads are there, so that means the sanction of the government is there to go to that place. Otherwise, there's a barricade or a blocked place. That means there's no sanction. And the taxi is like the material nature which is giving me the facility to go to that place. Is that okay? Understood? Who are the three doers? Us, Krishna, and the material nature. We are the first doer. We are responsible. We get all the actions and reactions because we have a desire to perform that thing.
So the root is desire.
The root is desire.
And then things are happening according to that.
Because without this, there's no question of sanction and facility.
Like whether
If you don't desire, then why would you want to?
Why does Krishna not get action reaction? Why he's not under material nature?
He doesn't desire.
Because he doesn't have a material desire. He doesn't desire anything. Namam karmani limpati. That's the next one. He says, I am not in desire of everything. Everything belongs to me. What could I desire?
So of course only if he sanctions it, you can fulfill the desire.
My desire.
Of course our desire.
Yeah.
So he's
Only if I've ordered a pizza in a restaurant, it's going to come to me. Dosa is not going to come to me. Because I ordered a pizza will come. When the pizza comes, I say, "Arey, mujhe dosa chahiye tha." ठीक है, wait. You eat this, you have to pay for this, then you get the dosa also. Yeah?
Krishna can stop a desire.
yeah, you would not sanction a desire. For example, you desire a particular thing, and that desire he might sanction, might not sanction. Right? So, are there circumstances where he is not sanctioning it? What happens?
What happens?
What I'm saying?
Yeah, the point here is there's something called free will. Krishna, I'll tell you what is this. I'll read what is written by the Acharyas. I'm just reading that exact thing. This will answer your question. That's why I was supposed to come to this point, but I forgot. Could you remind me? Krishna only sanctions against his own desire.
Sorry, so he does sanction against his own
Against
desire?
his own desire.
If we are,
Yeah.
if I have
And
a strong desire,
sorry?
if I have a strong desire and he does not want to sanction the desire, and as you're reading, he still would sanction it with
Against his own
his
desire.
own will. He does that.
He does it. He does sanction that. Otherwise, we'll not be able to get it. What happens is if you have a teenage child, he wants to do something. You say no. What happens?
He still do it. And then of course you pay.
Sometimes-
something which is not good.
Yes, correct.
Why do you sanction something which are not good for your child? When, in what circumstances do you do that?
You have a choice.
When you don't have a choice?
When you rebel.
Depends. All the people in this material world are rebels. We are here because we wanted to be away from Krishna. That's the first point. We were all in the spiritual world. Yeah, he says that, okay, fine, you do it. You will learn your lesson, you will come back to it. That's what happens, that's what we tell our children. Okay, come. When we have to pay, you come back. If your child, I remember Prabhupada gives this example that his young kid, he wanted to touch, we had these table fans earlier. And, sometimes children are curious, they want to touch. Yeah, they want to touch. Prabhupada told him, no, don't touch, you'll get hurt. Nahin. And when the father was not looking, he was, trying to, and the father said, okay, fine, go ahead, touch. When he touched just the outer part, because it's, so, it's quite shaky, the old ones are quite shaky and it's quite fast. So what happened? It gave him a current on his, nail. So immediately he was like, okay, fine, I'm not going to touch now, it's not good. What my parent is saying is right. So here, the Acharyas have written that Krishna sanctions against his own desires. What does he sanction? Our rebellious activities and their subsequent results. Whatever rebellious thing we do, when a child goes out of his way, does something, they're going to get a result of it also. When they get the result, what will happen? Chup chap se they'll come in their line. They'll follow, they understand that, okay, even now, my mother used to tell me so many things, I would never listen. And now, even if I don't tell her, I know, okay, your mom was right. She was right about this thing, she was right about that thing. So here, all these activities which Krishna doesn't want us to do, but we're still doing, these all are signs of our rebellious nature. This is the sign of the misuse of our free will that Krishna has given us. All of us have free will. Imagine if Krishna has to simply put a revolver to our head and say, now you love me. He's not coming. He puts a revolver on your head and say, now you love me, now you serve me. Ye transcendental knowledge hai, isko follow karna hai. Will he be satisfied with the type of love that you give? No. When you have tyranny, when you have parents who are like Hitlers in the house, what happens? Children go out and do whatever they want. And that actually gets worse. So those makes things worse. Even the relationship between the parent and child sours and everything goes. The child becomes an absolute rebel. So Krishna sanctions, makes sure you get the result of it also. Consequent result, whatever, good or bad. Then you understand, okay, this is good for me, so I should continue doing this. This is bad for me, I should stop doing this. And what is Krishna doing in our heart till then? As a sanctioner, he knows all our desires because he is in our heart as a Paramatma. So he knows everything and he's constantly sanctioning. He's simply waiting for us to turn to him. The day we turn to him, he'll tell us what to do. But till that time, he cannot order us because he's given us something called independence. He's given us free will. That is love. If he simply has to, dictate terms, what is the best way you would like to tell your child? You all are parents, so what is the best way you would like to tell your child?
Explain it.
Explain. With what motivation would you want your child to listen to you? Fear or love. Yeah. Just because you understand that your child is obeying everything that you do, that you say, you understand that this child loves me, listens to me. Even a husband and wife relationship, when the wife is doing something or the husband is doing something that the wife likes, what does it show? Love and affection between the couple. When they're doing absolutely, in fact, sometimes, when you get angry, you say exactly the things which will hurt that person. Yeah, why? Because you're so upset that you only want to hurt. That's the only thing in your mind. 1 second. Someone is desperate.
So if a desire is not getting fulfilled, so what could be the reason? That either Krishna is not sanctioning it or we really don't want it?
Generally, our material desires out of rebel only. Yeah, but it's going to take some time. What happens is we try to work on our time scale. Krishna works on his time scale. Maybe you'll get that same thing in some other birth. Maybe the facilities given to you don't match with that desire. But the problem is you have to take another birth for it.
The desires are too strong.
Desires are too strong. Even I sometimes, when you say something, you feel okay, I don't want it. Fine, then that's not counted. Something that is really pressing, then you have to again and again take birth for it. Like Bali Maharaj, he wanted to be, that's Bali Maharaj is in 7th canto? 7th canto, no? So he wanted to be the king of the demons and the demigods. Means he wanted to be the emperor of the universe. But you can't be both. You can't be the king of the demons as well as the demigods. Eki profile dono doesn't match, So in one birth, as Bali, he was the king of the demons. He was trying to conquer the demigods. He was doing it again and again and again. So right now, he is the king of demons in the Patal Lok. His realm is down. He is the king of the demons there. He, although being a great pure devotee, has to take a birth again. Because he is going to be the next Indra. Because he had this impelling desire to also be the king of the demigods. So he has to take a birth again. Although he is a pure devotee, he is one of the Mahajans. But he has to take a birth again now.
But his desire is over now. His desire to be the king of the demigods is over. Now
that's the risk of material nature. Right now he is the king of Daityas, of demons. But because Krishna has sanctioned now,
so you can't undo it.
But maybe Krishna has some plan, Krishna has some plan for me. As Indra, maybe he set an example for others to be devotees and, because of his exemplary character. I don't know, I'm just speculating, maybe Bali to be... Indra right now is, so bewildered and he does things, so many mistakes. Maybe Bali becomes Indra. He sets a very good example for the other demigods to become devotees, to become pure devotees. Then he goes back to God. He has to wait another kalpa to meet Krishna in the spiritual world. Material desires are extremely dangerous.
But remember you told us that once you're a devotee, Krishna takes all your karma away. As in all your past karma away. So, considering now he is a devotee, why should he take birth again?
Karma, but not material desire. Something that you've desired for, and once Krishna has sanctioned it, तो मिलेगा वो. Dhruv, he didn't want anything. He told Krishna, अभी मुझे नहीं चाहिए. Krishna says, no, you take. Because then what happens, सब लोग Krishna का नाम खराब करते हैं. नहीं दिया. उल्लू बनाया. हाँ? Signal purify कर दिया and then he's not giving it only. Krishna says, no, you take. But then, for that, I know, Bapre, but then for that devotee, he gives such consciousness that it's no difference for him to be either in the material world or a spiritual world. Dhruv, when he was ruling, he was a perfect ruler then. For him, he was never away from the Lord anymore because he realized that the Lord is always in my heart. Even though being a part of this material world, he is in the spiritual world only. For a pure devotee, it's no difference. They're in the material world or in the spiritual world. That consciousness is extremely important. Like in Shikshashtakam, there's one prayer. What's the last prayer? Yeah? Nam.
Whatever you do to me, I will embrace it.
Yeah, whether you embrace me or you break my heart. And that last line, you have the Shikshashtakam in your system? The last. If I say the whole thing, then I'll remember. Suddenly one verse from between I can't recollect.
Even I remember the whole thing.
Yeah. Ashleshava padaratam pinashtunam. Adashnan marmahata karotva yatha yatha mat prananata svayeva napara. No, Shikshashtakam is not there. The 8th one, Ashleshava padaratam, that one, no? In this verse, he says that birth after the previous verse, the one before that is Yugaitam Nishena. Says birth after birth, I want you to be my Lord. So a pure devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's giving the ideal of how a pure devotee is. For a pure devotee, it doesn't matter if if this is the will of the Lord, that I take birth again and again, no problem. But you don't let me forget your lotus feet. This is the consciousness of a devotee. Whether I'm in the spiritual world, I'm going to do the same thing, serve the Lord. Whether I'm in the material world, I'm doing the same thing, that is, serve the Lord. Yeah. So here we come back to this. 3 doers are there: Jiva, Krishna, and material nature. Jiva is a rebellious person, has so many material desires. That's why Krishna is sanctioning it, waiting for the material nature to give facility and then to give the result also. Whether we learn from the result and we come back on track and try to find Krishna then. Learning so many things. Sometimes when you get very tormented with all the reactions coming to you, then you think, hey Bhagwan, someday we cry out, oh my Lord, save me now, enough of this birth and death. So it's 4.13, Krishna says, I'm not the doer. Who's the doer? Three. There are three people involved here. I am only the sanctioner. In 14, Krishna says, Namam karmani limpanti.
Namam karmani limpanti.
Name karma phale spriha.
Name karma phale spriha.
Iti mam yobhijanati.
Iti mam yobhijanati.
Karma bhirna sabadhyate.
Karma bhirna sabadhyate.
Sarna, you read? Translation.
There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruit of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work.
Right, so here Krishna is saying that he's further explaining it. Krishna further explains how he is not the doer. Here he explains there are three types of doers, and then the next he says, I am not the doer. Why? Because I don't aspire for fruits. Generally, the generic rule is that anyone aspires, anyone does any activity is for some fruit, it's for some reaction. Right? I'm cooking so that you'll be able to eat. Get up in the morning to do something. Any action is basically in pursuance of some fruit. Basically, that's the general principle behind every action. And that's why we're getting reactions. Krishna says, Namam karmani, there's no karma which binds me, because I do not aspire for any fruits. And he says that one who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in fruitive reaction of work.
About this I'm really confused.
What is?
Doers. Actually we are writing Krishna under three doers. He is not the doer.
He's not the doer, he's a sanctioner.
And here it's like three modes of material nature.
That is the third doer. Three modes are basically his way of doing things indirectly.
In material world.
In material world. This material nature is not there in the spiritual world. There Krishna is taking care of everything personally. When Krishna is doing some actions, the facility is not through material nature. Like when Krishna becomes the king of Dwarka, that Dwarka is not a material city. It's a spiritual world. If you go to Dwarka today also and perform some activity, anything, prayer or anything, it gives you spiritual benedictions, not any material thing, because it's connected to Krishna directly. Krishna has two types of power. Direct powers, when someone becomes a devotee, he directly takes care of that person. A person is non-devotee, he is using the material nature. Now everyone is there, like that plane crash in Nepal. What happened? There's a material plane. Did Krishna create the plane? No, there are humans who created the plane. So when there's a human error, everyone dies. But what happens to the devotees? Krishna takes care of them. To the non-devotees, whatever was their state at the end of their life, they'll go there. Or if their karma is such that they don't have to give up their body yet, then they simply come out with some injury. Right here, when there was this devotee who was giving an offering to a person who was, all the diseased people, he was saying that, when these politicians go to such places, they don't die. There never mishaps with any of these politicians, because they don't have the, benefit, or they don't have this benediction of dying in such places. क्योंकि गलती से Dr. Alva, he was saying, they don't die, they never die, they come back very safely. These corrupt politicians or anyone, such people, sinful people, when they go to such places, they'll get, of course, whatever they've done, they'll get the reaction, but they won't die over there. They'll come back very safely. Because नसीब नहीं है उधर मरने का. Krishna taking care of non-devotees is indirect. We have desires, okay. And a special guest who comes in a restaurant, immediately the owner will come. Well, other people are coming anyway, the waiters are, taking care of them, serving them. But is the person not looking after them? He is, but through the waiters, which is anyway done for like a general principle. When someone special is coming, he comes himself. So when a devotee is very special for Krishna, he takes care himself. For others, there is this material nature who's arranging everything.
So like what I feel is just the jiva who is desiring, and so he has to be a doer.
That's why he gets all the reactions, no? But he alone cannot do everything. Like if I...
cannot, but he's the only doer, right? Then
If he thinks
Krishna
that
is
way...
not doer, material nature is not doer. They are just specifically in one section.
There are two things. There is responsibility and there is doer. Let's separate the two.
Okay.
The person himself cannot do everything.
Right.
Why? It's very tiny. If I want to go to Kaf Parade, even if I have to walk, I have to use the roads of the government. That's why I pay tax. Okay, I am using all facility. Why a person, in the Vedic system, we don't celebrate birthdays? Why?
Not a celebration to come to effort.
Yeah, because it's not the तुम्हारा birthday है तो it's not only you, there should be everyone else who's in it. The mother, the father, the hospital, everyone should be is involved in a birth.
Yes, I agree to that.
Yeah.
Rather than three doers, I think only one doer. No? That what I
Not
think.
entirely. Because
Entirely, but you can say the root cause is just jiva.
root cause is, but he himself cannot do everything. Because he is very tiny. He is 1/10,000th tip of the hair. He has to be given a sanction and he has to be given a facility. Then he'll be able to do.
Agree.
Just by desiring, सब कुछ नहीं होने वाला है.
Yeah, agree.
क्यों?
I agree to
No,
what you
क्यों?
say.
I want to take it out from you. Why? If I simply desire, things will not happen. Because I'll tell you why. Because when Krishna, everything happens by his desire. Why it doesn't happen in my case? Krishna? No. Even if you're purified, नहीं होगा. Because I'm very tiny, na. I cannot arrange things.
Krishna says, I'm not the doer. Why are we keeping him under the doer, three doers? My question is simply that.
Because without him, it will not happen.
But we say
He's saying that I'm not the doer.
First, take a taxi example, helper.
Yeah, like.
That's why I'm saying responsibility, no. But she's stuck at the point of doer.
I'm somewhere stuck somewhere.
Doesn't mean doer. She probably put it under doer, but
Yeah,
technically
the
she just
acharyas have
three
put it
go
under
together.
doer. Because see, the point in 3.27 was, if you think you are the doer, you are bewildered by false ego.
Yeah, because false ego makes you feel that you're.
That I am the doer.
Yeah.
But you are a doer, no?
No, it's
So Krishna is wrong?
We can read the 3.27. Says that's nice.
Yeah, just read the 3.27.
I think I need more clarification
Yeah.
on this.
Let's read 3.27. They are spoken in two different contexts. When I say doer, it's in a different context.
Okay.
It's not as if he's doing it.
Okay.
He's simply sanctioning it. But sanctioner is also a part of doing the activity. Because unless you don't sanction, things will not be done. So that way, he is a doer.
In
But-
that a combination of all.
Yeah, but Krishna will not share the reactions.
Go together.
Because he's spiritual, so
Yeah.
he's not contaminated with the.
Not even spiritually. He's got nothing to do with your desires. Your desires are your problem. What is he doing? He's simply giving you a facility. Because if he becomes, in that technical sense, a doer, then he will have to share all the reactions that I get.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like if someone is, if I give money to a beggar, he goes and buys some drugs with it. I'm going to get a part of his karma. Yeah. So when Krishna is giving me something, does he become a part of my karma? Get the difference?
Yeah, it is just because of his spiritual nature. That's it. He does not have any desire.
Yeah, but then the thing is that it is my desire, that's why he is doing it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's got no interest in doing anything for me. Yeah? Here earlier also when he says, Bhakto Sime Sakhachiti, he said he is giving only this knowledge to Arjun. Why? Why is he not giving it to anyone? Everyone is covered by Maya. But for a devotee, he personally takes a charge to remove the veil of Maya. For everyone else, he is not bothered. He said, it's not their desire to come out of Maya. Until we don't desire, he will not do that for us. So in that way, He is also a doer, he is a non-doer also. But here in this context, he is saying कि अगर तुमको लगता है कि I am placing you in Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, I am not doing it.
Yeah, that I agree fully.
So in that context, he is saying I am the non-doer.
Okay.
In that context.
Right.
In this context, he is a doer because without his sanction, it will not happen.
Okay.
There are two different contexts.
Yes. Now
Yeah.
you made that point. Yes.
Context is separate. I remember even Anju was asking a question. There Prabhupada is saying something and here Prabhupada is saying something. It just seems contradictory. Here he is saying you're not the doer. There he is saying that I'm also not the doer. So kar kaun raha hai? How is this material world working then? Because it starts with my desire. So I'm going to take the responsibility. Because he is a parent, because without his thing I cannot be able to do anything. Like a child as small as 1 year old, क्या कर सकता है? Cannot even eat by himself. Cannot even bathe by himself. Even potty भी जाएंगे तो he needs someone to clean. But he is growing because the parent is doing everything. If he says कि my parent, I have nothing to do for my parent, why? Then he is irresponsible. Because the parent has a very important part of his. So here Krishna is sanctioning everything. So without his sanction I will not be able to do. I will be frustrated. I will be only desiring and nothing is going to happen. So Krishna sanctions and in that way he is a doer. And by sanctioning, what does he basically do? Sanction means what? He tells material nature ki, chalo de do isko. That
He
way.
can sanction directly or through demigods.
Yeah.
Right? So like in that way also.
Even through demigods, it's him only. Because the demigods don't have the power to give unless Krishna doesn't sanction. Material nature means everything. Facility means either it's coming through demigods or it's coming through a person or it's coming, sometimes you get very good education. You get a particular body which you have very good intelligence. That is also, a gift of Krishna only. So that you can fulfill your desires.
So it can be direct or indirect.
Both. That way he is a doer in that context. Yeah. But if we say कि ठीक है अभी he is the one who gave it to me, so he's also have to he'll also have to see that I don't suffer much. And that's not possible. And he'll say like if I go in a taxi, as she said, I have to pay the taxi fellow. If I tell the taxi fellow कि अरे आपने भी तो मरीन ड्राइव का हवा खाया है, आप भी तो सेम गाड़ी में बैठे हो, you are also taking the AC. What will he do? He'll still make me pay. Because it is my desire to ride in his taxi. I'll have to pay. If I eat in the restaurant, I will have to pay. Somehow Krishna gave me intelligence to write, to say it properly. 4.15. 4.14 we understood that Krishna is not bound because he is not aspiring for anything. 4.15 Evam Nyatva Kritam Karma. Oh, it's pretty much time up, yeah? I want to go for darshan? Yeah, because there's only 10 minutes left. What do we do? I'll just read the translation and we'll do it next time then. Evam Nyatva Kritam Karma.
Evam Nyatva Kritam Karma.
Purverapi Mumukshubhihi.
Purverapi Mumukshubhihi.
Guru Karmaiva Tasmatvam.
Guru Karmaiva Tasmatvam.
Purvehe Purvataram Kritam.
Purvehe Purvataram Kritam.
So all liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. That everything is happening with this sanction and everything is because he is providing it for me. Therefore you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. So if you start behaving in a way of only spiritual desires, then even you will be out of action and reaction. And then from 16th verse onwards, he says how your every 3 types of karma we studied in Journey of Self-Discovery. Karma, good karma, it's also called as karma. Vikarma is bad activities, everything against the injunctions of the Lord, harming others, or creating anything that is that way without the sanction of the Lord. And then next is akarma, it's not giving any material reaction. How do I turn my karma into akarma is between 16 to 20